Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So it's Tuesday today. I think this video is going out on Wednesday. So yeah, it's Tuesday today. It is super gross outside. It's raining, it's grey, it's really dark. So today we're just sat on my bed wearing some like joggers, just having a bit of a chill time, you know? It's really cold out as well. So I feel like it's quite nice to be able to just chat to you, sit on the bed, wear something comfy, you know? I always dress up for my videos for some reason, like I wear something really cute, and it's not like you can see it anyway because most of the time it's just like my face, so. Anyway, so if you don't know what today's video is about, which you should because of the title, obviously, then I'm gonna quickly explain to you like what's going on. I decided that it would be a good idea for me to kind of like just sit here and chat to you guys. You know, we don't know each other very well, we're still getting to know each other. I don't have that many videos up, so I thought it would be a perfect time to kind of like sit down and have another chatty video with you guys so that you can get to know me better and I can get to know you better. So I went onto Instagram the other day and I asked you guys to send me some topics that you're interested in. You know, they could be on anything, whether it's to do with like politics or whether it's just to do with like famous people or music or movies, anything, and I will give you my honest opinion about them. Some of the stuff I didn't really know much about, so I had to do a little bit of research, which meant that I was just like, you know, learning something new, which is really interesting as well. So thank you for all the suggestions. I'm obviously not saying that you have to agree with me at all. I'm really open to hearing what other people think. So if you either agree or disagree with anything that I'm saying, please feel free to comment down below because I'd be really interested to hear what you think about these topics. I've actually got like a cute little notebook here with lots of notes in it, just because I'm one of those people who's not very good with words, but I really struggle with words. English wasn't a very strong point for me in school. I was very much a maths person, and I find that if I sit down and write all my thoughts out, then I don't pause like I just did then. So the first topic that I was given was the Fire of London, which is a really weird topic. You know what? There's actually a couple of weird topics in here. So this is a topic that I didn't have to do too much research on. I've been to the London dungeons before. If no one's been to the London dungeons before, they basically just talk about the different points in time where there have been like huge historical events. So they talk about like the plague, Jack the Ripper, obviously the Fire of London, all these kind of big events, and they have actors that play certain characters. It can be quite scary. I was quite scared. I don't like the dark very much, especially when like people are creeping around you and like touching you and stuff like yeah. And when you're waiting in the queue to actually go in, there's like this little tank next to you and it's full of rats. If there's one thing that you need to know about me, it's that I despise rats. No. Anyway, getting back to the subject, my opinion on the Fire of London from 1966. Now, I thought I was good with numbers, but evidently not, because the Fire of London was in 1666, not 1966, you moron. That is obviously a devastating thing that happened to the city, right? People lost their lives. I think 5 people died. You know, people lost their businesses, people lost their homes, and it spread really far as well. There are reports that the Lord Mayor was so unconcerned when he saw the flames that he just went back to bed. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it's on quite a few different articles about the Fire of London, so I thought that was quite funny. Obviously, it was like a horrible thing that happened to the city and to the people who lost their lives or their homes or their businesses. However, with the devastation came a chance to rebuild the city and make it a safer place. So like building materials were changed. Many of the houses back in that day were kind of made out of wood. It's not just the houses that were made out of wood either, it's the water pipes. So the firefighters found it really difficult to put the fire out because they couldn't get access to any water because all the water pipes had been burnt. So after the fire happened, as well as changing the kind of like housing materials and water pipe materials and stuff, they also had loads of fire equipment put into each parish of London. Now, in this article that I read, it said 2 fire squirts, which made me laugh, but I think it means like, I don't know, like hoses or maybe a fire hydrant or something. But that is a fire squirt. Anyway, so each parish had to have 2 fire squirts, leather buckets and other fire equipment as well, just to make sure that their parish was safe. New city designs also included requirements for quaysides to be opened along the River Thames so that houses on the water could be accessible by firefighters. So in conclusion, although it was like a horrible thing that happened to the city, at the end of the day, in the long run, the city became safer because of it. So I don't know if that's the kind of opinion that you wanted me to have, but that's the opinion that I have. Okay, my next topic is Margaret Thatcher. So if you don't know who Margaret Thatcher is, then you've probably been living under a rock all your life, because she was a Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 1979 to 1990, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think she was also like Home Secretary or maybe the Education Minister or something as well before she was Prime Minister. Obviously, I wasn't born anywhere between 1979 or 1990, so I was never around when she was Prime Minister. But obviously, a lot of people had a lot to say about her, so I kind of knew bits. Obviously, she is known as the Iron Lady, and I think that original nickname came from like Soviet Russia or somewhere. I think there's a clip of the Iron Lady. I think she's in a ball gown at some event maybe, and she basically gets up onto the podium or whatever and says, "Yeah, I'm the Iron Lady, what of it? You got some balls, lady. You got some balls." My personal opinion is that I didn't really agree with a lot of things that she did. She created difficulty in like many different jobs, and there were many strikes because of it, like the union strikes and the miner strikes and everything like that. The miners were effectively starved back to work. Like she really didn't care about the working class. She took benefits away from people because she was the type of politician that wanted everyone to fend for themselves. She would say, no, you're not having benefits because these rich people don't have benefits, so why should you have handouts from the government if they're not having handouts from the government? She was very typically conservative in the fact that she cared about the rich and didn't care about the poor. However, what I think is incredibly disrespectful is that when she died, people stood there and sang "Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead." I may not agree with what she did in terms of all her like policies and whatever. However, she was doing what she thought was right for the country at that time. But yeah, I thought it was incredibly disrespectful that people were singing "Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead" when she died. Unbelievably disrespectful. I understand that a lot of people didn't like her, but she's still got family and she's still got friends, and they just lost a loved one. Imagine losing someone in your family and then hearing the whole world chanting "Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead." Like, that's disgusting. And you know what? It's the same with Boris Johnson as well. Like, I don't really like him. I think he's a bit of an idiot. However, when he got coronavirus and was in hospital, the amount of people that were tweeting and writing their Facebook statuses saying, "I hope he never leaves hospital," like, that is disgusting. And what annoys me is a lot of these people who are doing it are always advocates for mental health when someone passes. So when this whole Caroline Flack situation happened and everyone was saying, "Oh my god, I can't believe this happened to her," everyone was bullying her, it was all the press's fault and people were trolling her all the time. And then 5 seconds later, they're turning around and targeting someone else and calling them fat. You know, you never know what's going on with someone's mental health. You're an outsider, you don't know them personally, you don't know what struggles they're going through. Do you really think that they want to sit there and see tweets about how they don't deserve to come out of hospital and they should just stay there for life? Like, that's disgusting. So yeah, there's my opinion on Margaret Thatcher, Boris Johnson and mental health all in one. I feel like quite a few of the topics that you guys have given me are quite touchy subjects, you know, especially this next one. So the next topic on the agenda is God. Now, I just want to say before I start this topic, I always have, and I always will be a supporter of other people's beliefs. I've always been respectful, and I will continue to always be respectful about what other people believe. This is just my opinion.
I feel like religion can be a really, really touchy topic for some people, so I just wanted to say that before I start, because I don't want to offend anyone, and I'm not trying to say that what you believe in is wrong, because that's another thing that I think is really rude. You might not believe in something, but at the end of the day someone else does, so if they believe in that, just leave them to it. Leave them to believe whatever they want to believe, and you believe whatever you want to believe. So me personally, I don't know if I believe in God. For me, there's just not enough evidence that he exists. There's a lot more scientific information out there proving that we don't need God to exist for the world to exist. Now, I have done a video on this before, kind of. I'll link it below. It's called A Man Disproves Evolution response video. So a few years ago, it was when I was at school, there was a video going around of an American man, I believe, who was saying stuff that he believed disproved evolution, and a lot of people agreed with him, and I made a response video kind of saying that he was contradicting himself a little bit. So some of the points that I made in that video are going to be some of the points that I'm going to make in this particular part of this video. So if you do want to go check it out, as I said, I'll leave the link in the description. It's only about like 4 or 5 minutes long. So people who believe in God say that the world is so beautifully designed and it's so orderly that it must have had a creator. You know, there must have been a designer of some sort in order to make such a perfect world. And the example that they normally use is what I got taught in ethics and philosophy anyway, is like a clock designer or a watch designer or something. I'm sure if you put that into Google, it will come up with something. I took ethics and philosophy for about 7 weeks back in 2013, so I can't really remember much, but it was basically saying a watch is so complicated, it's so complex that it can't just exist by itself. It has to have a watchmaker to make it so complex and to make it work in the way that it works. Does that make sense? Anyway, so people use this as a way of saying that the world must have a creator, which I understand. However, the world isn't beautiful and it isn't ordered. And again, as I said, in my opinion, you know, you have wars, you have thunderstorms, you have tsunamis, you have volcanoes, earthquakes, you have all these horrible diseases and illnesses, and you know, if there were a creator of a world, surely he would make it so that no one would suffer. But I just think that even if the world is beautiful and completely ordered, it doesn't necessarily mean that someone had to create it. It could have just created itself. I feel like God was created as a little bit of a safety net. I feel like people created a designer because they didn't understand how the world worked and how the world existed. So to make them feel at peace and to make them feel more comfortable about their existence, they created a creator. As I've already said, I feel like there's a lot more fact in the scientific side of things than there are in the religion side of things. You know, I feel like there's more evidence swinging one way than there is the other. However, it doesn't mean that I'm completely closed off to the idea. As I said, I'm respectful of other people's beliefs, and I'd really love to know what your particular beliefs are. Whether you're Christian, agnostic, atheist, Buddhist, whatever, I'd love to know what you personally believe on this topic, because I feel like so many people across the world believe different things, and it is quite interesting. So the next topic that I've got is kind of like completely different to the ones that we've had so far. It's a little bit of a fun one, I suppose. Someone asked me my opinion on nudes. Can you tell that it was a guy? In all seriousness though, I'm going to be talking about nudes and Onlyfans in general. If you don't know what Onlyfans is, it's kind of like a website where you have people who subscribe to you in particular, and you can post whatever you want, whether it's like explicit content, videos, photos or whatever, or you can post videos of you doing gym workouts. And there's a lot of different people on there, and there's famous people on there as well. So kind of like famous in the YouTube community, you've got Trisha Paytas, you've got Tana Mojo, and there's also a couple of other websites like Admire Me, which is really similar. There's something called Patreon as well, I think that's what it's called. It's more for like musicians, artists, that kind of thing, and people can subscribe and get specialised content from that person. So my opinion on nudes and Onlyfans and whatever, absolutely fine. You know, you do you, gals, guys, and everyone in between. Like, absolutely crack on. Not necessarily something I would do maybe, but you do you, pal.
that?
Nothing.
What
I
was
just
that?
hear you go, whoop.
Yeah, I tripped over the shoe.
You tripped over the shoe?
Yeah, I brought the other ones up as well.
Oh, thanks.
You okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Is it like on record? Hey!
Do you want to like actually get in it so they can see your full face instead of just like your, ooh, watch my glasses. This is Jack. He made me a gin and lemonade. What I will say though is that if you're going to send nudes, whether it's like selling them or just sending them for the lols, just know the law. Be careful. Remember that anything that goes on the internet stays on the internet. I'm all for Onlyfans and Admire Me, etc. Like, if you're gonna be sending nudes, why not get some coin for it? Like, you go sis, crack on. Make that dollar. So that is my short but sweet opinion on nudes. Crack on, get your coin. Just be safe. Okay. I'm gonna need a drink for this next topic. The next topic that I received is the Colston statue. Now, if you follow me on social media, then you will probably already know my opinion about this. And my opinion is, yes! Absolute yes. Like, I was so happy. There was a Black Lives Matter protest in Bristol, which is in the southwest of the UK. It was a couple of days ago, I think it might have been over the weekend. Anyway, at the protest, a statue of a guy called Edward Colston was ripped down by protesters and thrown in the River Avon. So what you need to know about this Edward Colston chap is that he was a huge slave trader. You know, people have only been taught about the good things that he did for Bristol. You know, people say that he was a philanthropist, that he basically built the city of Bristol, which is all true. However, he built the city from the money that he got from selling slaves. Like, the city of Bristol was basically built for the slave trade, which I think is disgusting. And like, my family are all from Bristol, so he shipped thousands and thousands of slaves to the UK up the River Avon, and I think it was about 20,000 slaves died just on the journey. So the symbolism of his statue then getting thrown in the same exact river that he had shipped so many slaves up and down of. Iconic. Iconic. Loads of people are kicking off about this and saying that the protesters were vandalising the statue, which I can get to a certain extent. I mean, they did rip it down and then throw it into the river. However, what most of you don't know is that people have been petitioning to get rid of this statue for years. Years. And nobody has listened. People have come back with comments saying, oh no, we need him there, we need his statue. It shows the history of Bristol and how he built the city. No, it doesn't. It just looks like we're celebrating the slave trade, which is disgusting. It shouldn't have been put up in the first place. The fact that it was is despicable in itself, but then for thousands of people to be petitioning for it to be taken down and then the council not listening, if the only way to get rid of this statue was by ripping it down and throwing it in the river, that's what needed to happen. So I am 100% for everything that happened. Like, absolutely iconic. Love it. Rude, don't interrupt. I know you're running out of battery, but still. Just plain rude. Plain rude. Now, whilst we're on the topic of kind of Black Lives Matter, shut up. I feel like if you follow me on social media, then you will 100% know where I stand. I mean, if you've seen my video from last week about this toxic relationship that I had with a friend of mine, you will know that I stand with the Black Lives Matter movement. I think it's so important. This past week, I've literally spent my whole time trying to educate people on why it's important that it happens. Now, one thing that has really annoyed me, in fact, there's a lot of things that have really annoyed me about everything. so I'm just going to tell you. I was talking to a friend today, and we were talking about people that we went to school with and what their opinions on the Black Lives Matter movement is. She was telling me that there was this one girl who was in her year, so she was in the year below me, who was constantly making comments about people with mental health and people of a different nationality and blah blah blah, and just being disgusting, just being so rude about all of these different types of people. Now she went off to university and has claimed that she's a changed person. She completely understands that she was in the wrong when she was at school because she was ignorant and she didn't know much about other cultures. Right, okay, you've learned, cool. But if the only thing that you're gonna post about to do with the Black Lives Matter movement is that you're upset that a horse got injured, that's not showing your support. I understand that a horse being injured in a riot is obviously upsetting. No one wants that. Of course they don't. But if that's the thing that you're focusing on, if that's the thing that you think is the most important thing about this riot, then you're delusional. That's one thing that's really annoyed me. Another thing is that people are kicking off about all of these statues of racists are being defaced and pulled down, like the Colston statue. The Colston statue is actually a really good example of what I'm trying to say, in terms of like, yeah, he was a philanthropist, but he was also a slave trader. It's not like you put up a statue of Jimmy Savile for all of his charity work when there are accusations against him being, I don't even want to say the word because it just disgusts me. If someone put up a statue of Jimmy Savile in London or whatever, people would be kicking off, rightfully so. But you're saying it's not okay for people to kick off about a racist having a statue in the middle of a city. Another thing that I just want to say is that if you're kicking off about the violence that is happening and the looting and everything, and if you're hating the riots and the protests in general, if you're one of those people that are saying violence doesn't solve anything, have you had a look at our history, hun? Because the whole world has rioted in some sort of way for some cause. People rioted for women's rights. There was lots of violence in that. People rioted for gay rights and LGBTQ+ rights. Nothing gets changed by peacefully protesting, unfortunately. It's unfortunate that it has to come to that, it really is. And I can understand where you're coming from with not wanting violence, but at the end of the day, if rioting is the thing that's going to get it through your thick skulls that racism is a huge issue, then that's what needs to happen. I mean, it's fine for white men to riot when their football team loses, or was it when they won? I can't remember, but people were destroying like taxis, an ambulance. These huge riots happened because of a football team. So that's okay. No one commented about that. Everyone just said, oh, you know, people are just overexcited. But when it's black people marching for black rights and rioting for black rights, suddenly they're thugs. And that's the tea, sis. Anyway, I'm gonna stop ranting to you guys now because I feel like I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but you know, you've got my honest opinion on things now, on quite a few things. I know that there was obviously quite a few topics that you guys sent in, but I also voiced my opinion on some other things like mental health and Boris Johnson. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to hear your comments and your thoughts. And yeah, peace guys, it's been nice chatting. Send me some new video ideas. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all soon. Bye guys!